Hey everyone, welcome to Post to Post. My name's Neil. I'm joined here with my friend Jason. You may recognize him from the podcast, which we do every single Sunday when we don't forget to unmute the mics and have to trash the episodes. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate you. Jason's favorite team is the Boston Bruins.
Heck yeah.
He's got his jersey in the background. He's got his hat on. Man, is it stressful?
No.
They beat Washington pretty decently.
I'm surprised.
But now they're playing the Islanders. That's a different animal. What do we think about this?
Going into this, I would have picked Islanders, Pittsburgh over Washington. I think I even talked about that on our last podcast. Because Washington was just the team that had the Bruins' number in the playoffs.
That's true.
They didn't have it this year, obviously. Washington looked pretty depleted.
Yes, they did.
I think they're going to have more of a challenge out of either of these teams. Like, if it would have been Pittsburgh, it still would have been more of a challenge. But when you win a series in 5 games, just because you have more of a challenge doesn't mean you're not up for the challenge.
That's true.
So I'm up for the challenge.
Jason is up for the challenge. The Bruins are up for the challenge. You know your team well. Does Boston and the Islanders have any kind of pre-existing rivalry?
I would say, I don't know, actually. I would say generally no, but some of the games have been pretty nasty, so.
I remember when Boychuk
I love Boychuk.
left.
I love Boychuk.
And that was kind of an argument, a clashing between the two franchises.
Yep.
But I in general, I wouldn't say that they really have a rivalry.
Don't be surprised if this gets nasty. That's what I will say.
Yeah, that's what I kind of wanted to talk about. I think this is going to get maybe some kind of physical.
Could be, yeah.
And not necessarily fights, but we saw the Tampa, Florida series and how crazy that was. I kind of feel like we might get that in this series.
Could be, yep.
They do play similar styles. Boston isn't the same defensive team as they were a decade ago.
Nope.
But they still do play very good defensive hockey. Obviously, the Islanders do as well. That their entire system and structure is built around defense with Barry Trotz. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to be the most exciting series as far as flashy goals and breakaways and all this stuff. But it's going to be close, grindy, battling hockey, which is sometimes the best playoff hockey to watch.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to it. I'm obviously not a Boston Bruins fan. I like the Islanders more than the Bruins. I'm going to be cheering for the Islanders.
Heck no.
Definitely.
Get out.
Even though I'm wearing a Boston merch.
Yeah, that's all right.
Out of respect. I am definitely going to be cheering for the Islanders. I don't know who I'm going to predict, though. It's hard. It's hard to gauge because...
I agree. Like, I thought in my bones that Washington was going to beat us last year. That was my prediction. It was very wrong. This one here, I don't know. It's definitely harder to gauge, I would say.
I'm going to predict that Boston's going to win because Boston came into the playoffs extremely hot. They played well against Washington. I think the ball's rolling. I think they're going to continue to be hot. I think it's going probably 6 or 7 games, but I'm still going to pick Boston. But it really all depends on how Boston can adapt to the Islanders' play structure. I don't think the Islanders need to adapt to the Bruins' play structure. I think it's the other way around.
Yeah.
So it's hard to make a prediction. The only thing I can predict with certainty is that I'm going to be watching every one of these games.
Yeah, I think Boston needs to play like they did going into the playoffs rather than like last series. There's a lot of games that just look bad, like bad passing, bad neutral zone breakouts.
Yeah, and their power play looks better.
Yeah, if they're having that many turnovers, like Marchand had his worst game against Washington probably in the entire year, and he was a turnover machine. I think if you turn
first one.
It might have been. It was the first or second. Yeah, it was. I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was the first one because it was just so bad.
Yeah,
but I think the Islanders are going to make you pay.
Oh yeah, they will.
So
that's the thing about the Islanders. They play such laid back hockey, but they're super opportunistic. And whenever they see like just a little bit of a hole or a gap or an opportunity, they're just on it like that. And that's how they survive. That's how they roll. And it can be really successful. But against a certain team, I don't know. They don't always win. We saw that, and they had a lot of potential in the past couple of years in the playoffs, and they just didn't get it done. So Boston may sweep this series.
I don't think so
because there was. Remember, it wasn't last year. It was the year before. There was a sweep in the first round. I think Boston swept someone, and then someone swept someone else. Carolina swept the Islanders, and then Carolina played Boston. Boston swept the Carolina or something like. There's a sweep.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Very unpredictable, and never would have predicted that. So I don't think that's going to happen.
No, Islanders have a better team now.
Yeah, but
I would say I'm not nervous about this series, but I also won't be surprised if we don't win this series either. Like, I think Boston has a chance. I think the Islanders have a chance. I would have to think most Boston fans are feeling pretty good, though.
I think it's different too when you play a team that you don't hate. Like, you don't hate the Islanders, I assume.
No.
If you were playing Montreal, obviously, if you lost to the Canadiens, you would leave that series as a fan feeling really disappointed. But if you lost to the Islanders, it's a respectable team.
I could cheer for the Islanders.
There you go. See?
Barry Trotz wins a cup. Washington's like, no, we're not going to pay you for winning a cup.
Boom.
Screw you, Washington. Like, just come on.
There's no beef between these two teams, which is a good thing.
But there will be.
But there could be, and hopefully there will be.
There
like
will
you
be.
Said. So it's, I don't know. It's, you try and analyze the series coming up as best you can, but sometimes you don't know. Like, you don't know if you see it. Like,
this is probably one of the harder ones to predict, really.
That's how I feel. Like, you can look at stats, you can look at matchups, you can look at season head-to-head, you know, who had the better outcome against each other. And then sometimes it just comes down to, you really just don't know. Like, it's hard to make a decision. I feel like this is one of those series. There's a couple of series that are out there that we've already seen and that we might see in the future. I think I'm going to be able to pick a winner pretty easily. Not this one. I don't know. I don't have a gauge for it. I don't have, I got nothing in the old belly. Got no gut feeling about this one.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not feeling nervous about it, which is, I should be, because when I start feeling good about things, that's when things fall apart.
This is wood. You could technically.
I know. I just don't want to.
You know,
I don't want to share the reverberations with all you people that are watching this.
Gotcha. Okay, well, let's get your official prediction. Who's winning this series and in how many games?
I'm going to say Boston in 6.
Boston in 6. I'm going to say Boston in 7. And I think it's going to be an OT game 7.
Ooh.
I'm going to get a little bit more specific.
Down to the wire.
Down to the wire. But that first OT goal, or that there is no more than
the first OT goal.
You know what I mean? When the goal happens in OT, it's going to be real quick, kind of like the Toronto-Montreal game the other night.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be real quick. So that is my prediction, guys.
I like your prediction.
You like my prediction?
Yep.
It's more dramatic.
As long as we're winning, I don't care how many games it is.
Okay, 4 games then.
I don't like that we're starting this series while other playoff games from round 1 are going on.
That is something we should have mentioned.
We'll talk about that in the podcast too. But
yeah, so if you're not subscribed to the podcast channel, it is linked down below in the description. We will be talking about that, plus many other things in the podcast on Sunday. Why there was no podcast last week will be explained in more detail in that podcast. But yeah, guys, leave your predictions down below in the comment section. Who you think is going to win this series? Do you feel like us? Like, you really just honestly, bluntly don't know? Or do you have a gut feeling like you know what's going to happen? Let us know down in the comments. We read all the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Hope you guys are having a really good day. Jason, thanks for joining me. Appreciate it.
thank you.
I'll catch you guys real soon. Adios.